Welcome, everyone. We're starting our next theater session here. Glad to welcome you to Microsoft, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I'm here with our partners at EPAM, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we're going to have a little discussion about our mutual experiences, what we're seeing our customers going through as they go through this AI journey on the way to becoming frontier firms, and what we can learn from those experiences, maybe to avoid the future potholes that may be in their way. So let's start with David.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dave Liu. I head up EPAM's media and entertainment consulting practice. Been in this space the last 20 plus years, luckily. So a lot of experiences across your content providers, all the way to live entertainment, gaming, sports, you name it. Happy to be here.
I'm Vlad. Eydelman. I'm with EPAM. I'm part of our Microsoft business group, so I'll help moderate this session together with this fine audience here.
Awesome. And I'm Nina Skorus-Neeley with Microsoft. I'm an industry advisor working with our media customers as they look to leverage our technology to transform their business. I apologize in advance for my voice. My allergies have already started to affect me, and it's day one of the conference. Awesome. Okay.
So I think AI is everywhere, as you can see, right? What we wanted to talk about here today is how to make it practical, because what we see a lot of industry leaders now exploring, they went from excitement to pilots to now how to derive business outcomes out of all of this, right? So over the next 20 minutes, we're going to go through a couple of topics. Dave, Nina have a wealth of background and information to share with us, so that's where we'll start.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to jump around and go through a couple of questions. I'm going to start with challenges first, okay? So what are the biggest challenges media and entertainment organizations face when laying the foundations for AI adoption? And how do these impact ROI? That's the most important question.
That seems to be the theme throughout this whole year. But let me start off with a little bit of the industry as a whole, and I think what we're seeing in the industry as a whole is becoming a microcosm also for the AI space. But media entertainment right now is a tough market. You have a lot of competition between all the content streaming providers. You have the YouTubes that are infringing on the traditional streaming models. And on top of that, everyone's being challenged to get more creative, produce more personalized content, but with less resources, with less staff. So how do you balance that at the end of the day, that demand for more with less? And AI is well positioned for that type of use case. But what we're seeing over the course of the last, I would say, 4+ years now, there's been this progression of wow, how, and now. So wow originally was the AI is going to be super cool, look at all these potential opportunities for improvement. Fast forward a year after that, it was, okay, how can I actually apply this towards real business cases? And then now people are like, okay, it's been a few years, where's the ROI on this? What can I actually show as benefit to my business stakeholders? And that transition from the how to now is a huge struggle. Like, I'm sure everyone saw last year when Harvard did their study, and it was like 95% of AI projects didn't return any tangible ROI improvement. That's basically what we're seeing a lot of in the media entertainment space as well. And it boils down, at least from what we've seen, into 4 main areas. One is around actually having that initial framework in place for your teams, that foundation that you can build off of. The other piece is the actual training enablement that's in addition to that foundation. So great, you can have the best AI tools in the world, but no one knows how to use them or how to apply them effectively. It doesn't matter. The other third piece here is data. At the end of the day, you can train up a system with all your intrinsic information that you have in your organization, but if it's bad data, you're just making bad AI models downstream. So taking the time to actually clean that up front, and then also integrating that into your larger platform of systems in your media supply chain. So getting rid of some of the legacy type of platforms, integrating them in so you can actually orchestrate and start seeing some of that business value.
I would double down on the data one in particular. So many of you working in media companies know your companies have probably grown through merger and acquisition. They're also organized typically against distribution models. So you've got separate P&L responsibility within divisions in your own organizations. And there's not a whole lot of incentive to share data.
Almost the contrary.
Almost the contrary. I literally sat in one meeting once and listened to a data executive say, we don't share data with this other sister division of ours because we view them as competitors. So the ability to really capitalize on AI to provide cross-organizational insight to your operations, to opportunities to grow your revenue, et cetera, you got to get back through some of the basics.
Yeah.
And some of this is organizational barriers that you need to deal with at a leadership level. But some of it also, particularly in the merger and acquisition front, is diverse databases, diverse data sources, and the perpetual exercise how the media companies typically go through to try and do the next generation of the data modeling project to get a unified data model and then unify all their data. Trying to swallow the elephant hasn't worked in the past unless you're a Python, and will not work in the future. So I think changing up the model and the way that you approach fixing your data estate, doing the classic things anyone in solution delivery does, which is have a good business case and look for those opportunities that are ripe for return on investment, and then tackling those thoughtfully are the biggest things that we need to think about when dealing with these kind of challenges.
So if I can put a headline on this, AI can happen. You just need data, foundations, and everything else that comes around this. Magically,
some of the same old stuff. Unfortunately, it's the same old
magic
stuff.
is not going to happen without the fundamentals.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have a quick cheat sheet for us in terms of the topics that we're going to cover, but let's move to the next topic in terms of barriers. So my next question is, how can companies overcome barriers such as data silos that you talked about, legacy systems, and most importantly, talent gaps, right? Because to ensure measurable returns on how do all these silos will unbreak and return on investment from AI?
So piggybacking on what Nina was saying earlier, it is that return back to the fundamentals, right? This is a program. It shouldn't be just a one and done project. People should get that out of their heads. You want to actually focus on how can I have a long-term AI adoption transformation across the entire organization. So fundamentals of understanding your current state. What are those value chains that you are actually using to get in front of your eyeballs, in front of your end customers, your internal stakeholders? How are you providing that value to them? Understanding your tech landscape that drives all that. And then once you have the understanding of that current state, how do I actually reimagine the future state? A lot of people, I think, are still caught into the day-to-days of their current job and the system limitations that they have with the current world. But if you remove those and treat it as a true greenfield, it opens up a whole different perspective, right? What are you doing that's just because of the process, because of the difficulty of ways it is right now, versus what is it that's actually providing that end benefit to your customer? Like thinking of it from that perspective. Once you have that, then it's a matter of just bolt and tackling. Come up with that roadmap that shows those quick wins, that you can show that demonstrable ROI and value. And then, yes, then you can go and try to swallow the elephant if you can, but at least you chop it up long enough to make it a little bit more bite-sized, palatable, right?
What do you also see like a talent gap from that side of it?
If you don't mind, I want to take a stab at that one. So if you saw my talk earlier, we talked about the journey to become a frontier firm. And the first step is really leveraging co-pilots if you're working with Microsoft or agents in general and AI to help with individual productivity. The first reaction is pile more work on me. And I would challenge companies in an age where we are seeing an immense pace of innovation, that we step back a little bit and think about reserving some of that freed up capacity and that is gained through productivity tools, and reserve that for innovation and education. Reinvest in your organization, because this is something that needs to penetrate the entire organization. It's not just about technologists learning this technology.
Yeah.
It's about everyone in your company working differently. And by gaining a little bit on productivity and then reinvesting that in your organization, you empower your whole organization to think about how you can apply this technology in new and interesting ways. I will also add here on the kind of challenges side, Microsoft is going through its own journey to become a better frontier firm. And as a result of that, we've done quite a bit on the platform side to build in tools and capabilities that are designed to help people overcome some of the data challenges, the data silo challenges, and all that. So, visit Work IQ, Fabric IQ, and some of our other stuff here in the booth. Keep up with the new models that we're producing. We just announced some new models on the transcription and image side that I think are going to be really interesting. And so you can see with that pace of innovation, freeing up time for with productivity tools to free up time for innovation is going to become more important.
And I think if I can add specifically on the learning side, so it's no longer about tasks and skills. It's like learning culture, like its ongoing journey.
Agreed.
Continuously.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Agree.
and actually on those lines, one of our clients that we worked with in the media entertainment space, they had the same challenge, right? They were trying to upskill and lift up their team that frankly had varying levels of knowledge around AI, and they wanted to use Copilot as well. So it's a perfect example of where we kind of stepped in. We actually took that entire team out of a sprint so that they weren't focusing on delivery. First week of the sprint, we actually educated them on AI in general, the basics, and then specifically Copilot. And then from there, then actually taking this blend of product people as well as engineers to come up with real world use cases, a hackathon to deliver value that they can start actually showcasing to their end customers. It got visibility all the way up to their CTO, CIO, that level, and that eventually became the foundation for their roadmap.
Not surprising.
And since you mentioned Work IQ, I just want to mention that, hey, EPAM was customer zero with all the Copilot, co-work stuff. I mean, I'm using it in my daily job to use it as my second brain. This is pretty amazing. Work
Super.
IQ? All right. So now, business outcomes. That's going to be an interesting topic to kind of dig into. So what lessons have EPAM and Microsoft learned from real-world AI projects in M&E space, particularly regarding achieving positive ROI and business outcomes?
So I will start off by saying it is the ROI opportunities that we've seen. Yes, there's always the sexy areas of like, how can I leverage AI for virtual assistants and all this other stuff? But the real value actually is coming from a lot of the back of house use cases. Things like being able to, for instance, introspect all your contracts and unstructured data, all those images that have your rights and royalties information or invoices, being able to take that information instead of it's just static dead form right now and make it usable for downstream systems so that you can actually orchestrate these workflows and make autonomous decisions off of that as data, right? We actually have an accelerator that we built out that's called DEPS, which is all focused on document extraction and processing system. Very engineering heavily named, but the core is exactly that use case of being able to demonstrate and pull out unstructured data from unstructured data. We've seen ROI within 12 months, human workflows being made more efficient by about 80 to 90%. So pretty substantial amounts of improvement. Again, not sexy, back of house type of stuff, but useful.
And the back of house stuff is an easy place to start. I think regardless of whether it's back of the house or on the front end creative side, think about those times or places in your organization where your teams are having to do swivel chair. Particularly in an environment where you're dealing with merger and acquisition. You've got sales teams, you've got creative teams, whatever, who are swivel chairing between systems because there hasn't been the budget, time, or energy to go ahead and integrate or consolidate those systems. So think about leveraging AI agents and co-pilots and the like to help remove some of the friction in those activities and allow that knowledge worker to focus on the real core of their job. I often talk about this as getting away from the mechanics of your job and back to the heart of your job.
Awesome. All right, let's continue on now to more interesting topics, emerging opportunities, right? So as organizations move beyond foundations and AI, what emerging opportunities are you seeing for innovation in content creation, distribution, and specifically audience engagement that drive, again, ROI and efficiencies?
Yep. I would say the two things that get me most amped up right now are all the optimizations for the content supply chain as well as personalization.
Yeah.
So kind of on the content supply chain side, what we were talking about earlier of being able to take transcriptions and like understand your metadata behind all the creative assets that you have so you can remonetize those and figure out new life for a lot of these properties, brands, assets, whether it's creating micro dramas from your existing content to actually being able to create new advertisements. This leads a little bit more into that personalization piece I was talking about, but one of the other accelerators we have called Hypermark is all focused on leveraging a lot of these streaming providers and their massive content libraries, pairing it in with all the customer data that they have behind the scenes to create hyper-personalized video promos with AI. So basically, if I were on, say for instance, Disney Plus, they would know Dave's a huge sci-fi fan. He's seen Mandalorian, but he hasn't seen Osaka or any of these other titles and properties. It will go through and stitch together relevant video clips from those shows that they know that I already might be interested in, tie it in so that there would be ideally some type of churn reduction to keep me on platform longer. So the end results that we've been seeing, it's been about a 5% reduction in terms of churn. So that equates to, I think, like $15 million plus in terms of additional revenue. So it's got some meat behind the bones there.
When I start thinking about this and talking to our customers about this, I think about this in terms of scale. Consumers have a wide variety of places and methods that they want to consume content these days. And what I like to remind people of is in today's workforce alone, there are 5 different generations. And they all want to interact with content in different ways. Some prefer long-form content. Some prefer the micro dramas. Some prefer to deal with content on podcasts as they're dealing with their commutes or whatever. So meeting your customers where you are is more and more important, but that requires a level of scale. In the cost pressures in media organizations, you have to take advantage of technology to be able to operate at that level of scale. I also often talk about operating at the scale of personalization. Yeah. Imagine a typical advertising company that might be dealing with 30,000 assets a year in advertising. Now imagine taking every single one of those assets and personalizing it for every individual that sees that ad. And now we're talking about managing assets at the scale of managing advertising impressions.
It's a mindset shift.
It's a complete mind shift. So having the operational maturity to be able to handle that, having the ability to actually execute that personalization, all of it across that whole supply chain needs to leverage intelligence and automation to be able to, number one, execute on that personalization mission, but also deal with the operational implications of it.
And you're going to have to tackle everything at once. You can be intentional in your efforts.
Exactly. I mean, some of this is ambitional as part of my job, dealing more in strategy and stuff is dealing with ambitions, but really start thinking about these kinds of things because we all know this doesn't happen overnight, and we need to be planful about scaling these kinds of capabilities.
Okay. So let's close our talk with the last question, and it's about what's next, right? So looking ahead, how can media and entertainment leaders position themselves to capitalize on the next wave of AI-driven transformation? Again, maximizing ROI and staying ahead of the curve in the rapidly evolving industry as we see.
So I think there's a lot of interest and demands, honestly, from the media entertainment providers, or whether you're on the live entertainment side, the content provider side, theme parks, sports, you name it. Everyone wants to get to the end state nirvana of I'm running everything with AI and getting all these efficiencies. But again, you have to take a realistic view of where you are on that maturity model. The whole crawl, walk, run piece of it applies towards AI as well. And I always like to say, you can't just go from the walk to the run. In this case, as a media entertainment leader, you need to focus on how can you make your teams leap to get there. And the leap being the learning, the empowerment, the actual adaptability of your teams, and then ultimately being pragmatic so that you have a phased plan to actually realize these little bits of incremental ROI that build into that AI run type of future state.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And while we're kind of shifting from the how, wow, now kind of mentality, it's still important to experiment because, again, as I mentioned earlier, the pace of innovation is so incredible that you will need to build into your organizations a continual learning, continual innovation and experimentation capability. But now is the time also to start thinking about platform, and now I'm talking about practical things. How do you govern your data internally to making certain that AI models are reasoning over data that you want them to? How do you maintain that data in a way that it's current, it reflects your current policies, that it reflects the current standards that you have and current regulatory environment? So I think you need to think about all of those things in terms of governance and security, like you would with any system, and thinking about leveraging standards like MCP servers and the like, giving yourself flexibility to change models within your infrastructure over time as they leapfrog each other, and position yourself from a platform level all the way through human capability to be able to continue to innovate and adapt this technology. I'll say one last thing, go Bears.
So I think we're at time. Thank you. I appreciate your time today with us. I'll leave with one thought that, hey, you don't have to tackle every use case.
No.
But the customers who are deriving value, they're putting foundation in place, governance, and focusing obviously on business outcomes. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll stick around afterwards, and feel free to visit EPAM booth in the AI Pavilion. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.